This won't be bad.
It is now 5 o'clock. We will begin the workshop for the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for May 30th, 2013. Tonight, we do have a guest that would like to speak on the Citizens Forum. Ms. Johnny Grandison, if you'd like to come to the podium, please. They were playing new music.
Good evening, and to the mayor and the board. My name is Johnny Grandison, and I want to get the understanding about something. First of all, it's a noise ordinance, and the reason why I'm asking is because, for you all who don't know, I pastor the church at 145 Cheney, and we want to have like an outreach on the outside of the church with the speakers and sit up and with music. It won't be in the next couple of months, but this is something that we would like to do down in the summer. And by it being outside, I wanted to ask what kind of ordinance do you have? Because it's right in a good neighborhood. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that we're not breaking the law with people saying about the noise.
Okay. If we can get with that, Bruce, get with her, give her a call, give Bruce, he'll give you a call, or I can, or the codes can get with you. I don't think it's a problem. I think it's after 11 o'clock, though, at night.
Oh, okay.
I do know, unless some neighbors may, if it's before that time, they can be if it's called a hindering their quality of life or whatever. But we'll get with you on that and give you that.
Okay. And the next one is, I live down at 149 Fisk Drive. Been having a drainage problem for a long time, and I know that they are working on it. They did come out and put the flags up and sprayed put the paint down where the water lines are. And it's been about 5 weeks ago since that has taken place. I did communicate with the person that handles that, and he did tell me it takes a little time, but I was just wondering if he has will it be done before the fall comes in?
Okay, and that would be stormwater. Okay. And we'll get with Mr. Perkins on that and get an update on that for you.
Okay, I didn't have this on there, but, and I just saw it, and I see here you have like a resolution for, to appropriate funds to a nonprofit organization. I would also like to know what does that mean. You probably get to that.
Those are like your rescue squads, Meals on Wheels.
Okay.
Oh gosh, Bruce, it's the Chamber of Commerce, Box 100.
Smyrna Burn Assistance Coalition, Food Bank.
Food Bank, those type of things.
Okay, all right. I'll just sit in and listen because I see that it's the new business and see where that our church maybe can be able to help out with that, if that's something that's, feasible.
Now, as far as us donating, the city cannot donate to churches.
No, I was talking for our church to donate to these.
Well, I tell you, one that might want to Meals on Wheels.
Okay.
Is in dire need of help.
All right.
The food banks are always, and we can certainly help get you in touch with those people.
Okay.
They would love the extra help.
Okay.
Absolutely, and thank you for offering.
Okay, thank you.
All righty, thank you. For Tuesday night, please remember to read over the minutes. We only have one set this time. Also, the prayer will be by Alderman Waldron, and the pledge will be by Alderman Green.
I'll try to be on time.
Okay. And if you don't mind, we do have some people here that have other obligations for later on, so we're going to move them to the front if y'all don't mind.
Okay.
And I think most of them are under the consent agenda items. That will be number D. We will start with approved proposal from Griggs and Maloney for engineering services for Hurricane Creek Quality E Coli sampling. All righty, and I believe that's Mr. Perkins and Mr. Griggs.
Basically, this item is for a part of the state permit, whereas any streams in the city that's deemed hazardous water. Basically, we just need to test it for E. coli. And right now, we've already done Finch Branch, and we need to go ahead and do Hurricane Creek, try to get that done. And basically, we have to do them within 5 years. Now that we're on year 3 of the cycle, we want to go ahead and get this taken care of, and then use the next 2 years to do 2 more sampling. So the next 2 years, you'll probably see 2 more come up on the agenda.
Any questions? Any questions? All right, and we'll go while he's here with us. Number 8, authorize the mayor to submit a letter to forfeit the funding from the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Program.
All right. Basically, this item is the. I was contacted by FEMA on the 15th of April, asking the status of our program, and right around the time our last qualifying property forfeited or rejected the proposal to accept the money. So, and that's basically at the end of that process, and we just need to submit a letter, let them know that we've run out of options on this item.
And everyone that did qualify, they did turn it down. So it was the residents' choice, not the city's. We want to make that perfectly clear, that the city was ready to move forward with them, do our portion with FEMA, and each resident declined their portion from FEMA. So I just want that to be made very clear. Do we have any questions? Any questions whatsoever on this? Thank you very much. Did we get them all?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. All righty. Bill, since you're here, we'll go on and get E also, since we're on this. This is approved proposal from Griggs and Maloney for engineering services. Nope. Is that the one?
Yes.
Yes. Testing and repairing or replacing of large water meters.
Bruce asked me to go ahead and put in a proposal to you, so I gave it to you. This is something we've discussed before and is included in the bond issue. Mm-hmm. If you remember when we put together the budget for the used water meters, we also had a budget in there for testing and replacing, if necessary, the large water meters. Mm-hmm. Meters you bought are residential water meters, but we've got some other large meters out there, which is, again, it's part of your cash register system. If they're metering wrong, you're losing money. And it's like any other thing made by man, it needs attention every once in a while, so this is just to test them and replace them if needed. Fortunately, there are at least 2 companies out there that do this, so it'll be a regular bid process. We'll put plans and specs and take bids, and it'll just proceed along those lines. So
and I know we were having some trouble with meters at some of the plants over on, I can't remember if it was Tech Park or Mason Road. Anyway, we were having some problems with the meters over in there. I remember that. I just can't remember the exact location right off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, you've got several in town.
Any questions? Any questions here? Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Mr. Hall, where we got you? We'll go and get you if you'd like.
No, ma'am, I'm not on. I'm just watching.
Okay, all righty. Just trying to take care of everyone that's here on their time. Okay, guys, if you don't mind, we will go back to our presentations. First on the presentation is Mr. Aaron Holliday and Dual Enrollment Academy at LHS. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mayor, Alderman. Come to you this evening as a Laverne resident, but also as a Rutherford County School Board member, just to let you know about the concern that I've had as a Laverne resident, but has been shared by the board, and I feel like is being addressed with the creation of Stewart's Creek High School, which will open in the fall. It'll become the 8th full-service high school in our county, along with Holloway High School and some other activities that we have. But The specific concern in the city of Laverne has been that it potentially divides the city in a socioeconomic manner and would create a circumstance at Laverne High School that we measure in regards to free and reduced lunch population. The free and reduced lunch population at Laverne High School right now runs in the neighborhood of about 60 to 62%. And we could see this run up into the high 60s or even low 70s as we rezone the area that is west of I-24 to Stewart's Creek High School. Because of that, we were concerned about that, and the board collectively sought to do something about that. This fall, we will introduce the Dual Enrollment Academy at Laverne High School, and it's a very unique opportunity, and I thought it was worth the board's time to hear a little bit about it as we continue to market our community to other areas. The Dual Enrollment Academy is going to offer college credit for high school, the highest achieving high school students. So if you qualify for the Dual Enrollment Academy during your junior and senior year, starting this fall, there will be 36 hours of college credit available that you will take in classes that are regular enrollment at Laverne High School. This is through a partnership with Motlow Community College that has been a great asset, and it is specifically at Laverne High School. Mr. Ash has shared with me that the principal at Laverne High School, that if for every seat or a student that went from Laverne High School to Stewart's Creek High School, if we were able to attract one of the best and brightest from around the county into Laverne High School, then it would be just the perfect situation. This is along the lines of what we saw at Oakland High School with the International Baccalaureate program, or at Central Magnet School, where we have a science and engineering concentration. So specifically at Laverne High School, we'll have this very unique opportunity, and over the coming years, we'll increase that from 36 hours to 61 hours. We have some freshmen that will start this fall at Laverne High School who have it in their mind, and we have it in our mind as a board to give them the opportunity that when they graduate as a part of the class of 2017, we'll be able to award them not only a high school diploma, but also an associate's degree from Motlow Community College. If we're able to achieve this, what we've done for the community, what we've done for the parents, is give them 2 years of college that at a greatly reduced price. And of course, the price is always something that in these rooms and these settings we're very concerned about. Unique at this program is the Hope Scholarship from the state and a Hope Grant scholarship that is specifically intended for students age 16 to 18 for this dual enrollment type of circumstance. It's a very unique program, it's very exciting, and Laverne High School is excited about it. The Board of Education is excited to support them in this and make sure that we keep Laverne High School one of our very special high schools in the county. I wanted to come this evening and offer myself to answer any questions, but certainly spur on the enthusiasm about this program at our Laverne High School.
You said that they can start as freshmen.
It's a kind of a track, and so you've got to knock out, your algebras and those kind of things in order to have the room in your high school schedule as a junior and senior to be able to accomplish these things. Okay. If the 61-hour mark were to be achieved, there's also the very real possibility that between the sophomore and junior year during that summer that there would be classes that a student might take then as well. So it's preparation and planning in the freshman and sophomore years in anticipation for what we would normally think of as maybe the AP classes and things like that, but instead of at the end of the class taking one test on one day and hoping to get a great grade and get AP credit, this allows for every day in class to be building toward a score and credit hour for a college credit. The state legislature has supported us in this as well by adopting legislation that makes every credit hour that's fulfilled at Motlow Community College is fully transferable to any university within the state, and so it's an asset across the state as well.
Aaron, when we talked about this at graduation, I think it's a great program. And of course, for the last year and a half, we've kind of gone back and forth with the school board redistricting and so on. Certainly can't change the lines that they're drawing. and it's a step in the right direction. But I want to reiterate to you, and I know we've shared this, but please continue to take back to the school board, because what I keep hearing, it's not for everyone. I mean, it's for the elite, okay? And I think your bigger problem, especially when you go to the free and reduced lunches, there, as you know, there's a direct correlation between low-income families and so on. I believe the lines were drawn. I believe the lines did a disservice in some ways, or created a problem for y'all. And I hope that that's not just the only thing that you all are going to try to continue to work with Laverne. Continue adequate resources, as we talked about. AP classes there were not the same as it had in other schools. But I think you get the gist. But I just want you to continue to please take that back and represent Laverne, especially Laverne High School, because I think you've created a problem, or a problem has been created by the way these lines have been drawn, whether they were years ago or not, that maybe it can be bigger than what we already think it may be now. I mean, again, you get into the 70%, graduation rates may drop, standardized scoring may drop. At this point, Laverne is 3 out of 8, I believe, as far as academically, at least the latest figures I saw. Right. I hope that they can stay there, because I know that's been a lot of been brought to me by parents, that they're afraid that they're going to lose, whether it's their academics, their extracurriculums, the band, and so on. So, of course, we've talked about this at length before, but you know, please continue to fight for us when you get up there with the school board and also the commission. So.
Certainly will. There are some small nuances in this. The students that are a part of the Dual Enrollment Academy, there is some financial obligation. There's $440 for the credit from Motlow Community College. $300 of that can be offset through those state funds. That still leaves $140 that the parent would be responsible for. However, we are offering some scholarships that members of the community and some businesses have stepped up for, but those are work scholarships, and the work is tutoring underclassmen. So these high-achieving students that are coming to Laverne High School for the opportunity to get this, Mr. Ash, in his wisdom, has put together a program where they're going to rub off in the right way and tutor others in the school to make sure that we keep test scores where they need to be. The other thing is it also helps us to ensure a highly qualified faculty. Faculty members are very interested in the opportunity for this because it opens the door for them to have adjunct instructor positions at Motlow Community College once they've achieved this kind of introduction by teaching this kind of bridge course. So both of those things are kind of under the surface and intended for good.
Any more questions? Any more questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. Next, we do have another presentation. Oliver Constable, Development along Blair Road. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
Right. Evening. Thank you for the time. What we'd like to do, ideally, is develop this land that you're looking at in Blair Road. We'd like to put actually 100 houses on there, on about 10,000 square foot lots, at an average of probably 2,250 square foot. We'd aim to get $200,000 per house, which I think is probably realistic, so altogether it's a $20 million development. The issue is that Laverne currently don't have any sewage which could serve this. The closest one would cost us about $275,000 to get to, which for a small 100-house subdivision makes it financially completely unviable. However, Smyrna, if you look at the drawing, have some sewage which serves the Verandas apartments, which is in the bottom right of the drawing, which we could tap into, makes the development viable again. And after several meetings with them, they said they'd be happy to work with you guys. I spoke to Paul Wilson, their head of sewage. I spoke to their legal guys and the town manager, and they said they'd be happy to work for you, much like Metro do in some subdivisions. They currently have this agreement with CUD in some of their subdivisions. And That's about it. Yeah, I mean, we'd like to do this subdivision. We've got a bunch of sites across Middle Tennessee, which, if we're not allowed to do the sewage on this, we're happy to develop. But that's a beautiful flat piece of land. It's got some great trees. Make a really, really nice subdivision. I think it would help the development of Laverne, mainly as there's $400,000 of fees which would be paid to Laverne, and between $37,000 and $40,000 of property tax per year extra. So we'd very much like to do this. It would take 3 years to fully develop the subdivision after approval's given, if approval's given. And assuming we can get our sewage issue sorted, we'd very much like to develop in Laverne.
Have you checked with Smyrna?
Right. The reason we're bringing this before the council, just for discussion purposes, is I wanted to make sure the board was even willing to entertain the idea of going into an agreement with the town of Smyrna for them to provide the sewer services for this development. I have talked to Mark O'Neill, the town manager at Smyrna, and they do have a standard agreement. The rates and everything would still have to be worked out, as far as what they would charge us to take that sewage. I think the big issue that we have to look at and consider is do we want to basically give those services to the town of Smyrna. We've had other developments in town where we've made them run sewage lines and pump stations and things like that at quite an expense to the developer. In this situation, we're not requiring that, and the sewage would be going to Smyrna. So I wanted this to come to council because obviously the agreement with Smyrna would have to have your blessing, and he's wanting that obviously before he even goes through the trouble of planning commission and rezoning and plats and all of that sort of thing. So I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts before we pursued it with Smyrna.
Guys, I'm going to open this up for discussion.
How far is the nearest tie-in, or
Pardon me?
how far is the nearest?
I don't have an exact number. I'm thinking it's
Exact distance, but he'd have to tie in. He could tie in at Woodsong, but the problem with that, he'd be gravity sewer down to their pump station. It was basically designed just for that subdivision. So it probably doesn't have enough capacity for this full subdivision here. So they could go a little bit further and tie into gravity sewer that goes down to Ivy Point pump station, which that would probably work. But like what he's talking about, with the amount of force main he'd have to put in the pump station, he's saying it's not feasible for his side. So when he come to us, he was talking to us about tying into Smyrna, which we told him we didn't have that authority or option, and that's what Bruce is talking about. It's kind of why we're talking about this is, do y'all even want to have that? Because then you've got two different rate structures. As far as water billing, I don't know how they would feel about it. I know they'd have to have two different ways to bill. I'm sure it can be done, but I don't know if Phyllis has even been approached by it yet or not. So.
And of course, we don't know the rates that Smyrna is going to charge us. I'm sure it would be more expensive than what Metro is charging us, so we would have to have a whole new rate specifically for this subdivision.
Yeah.
So.
And one thing you'd want to look at too, because like Woodsong, instead of pumping that sewage twice, because it goes from one pump station to another, we would want to try to, if it was something that worked out, we'd try to maybe take some of that sewage to Smyrna, depending on the cost, and then kind of what Bruce is saying, if their sewage is a higher rate, then you're going to be increasing the rate of those customers because they're going to Smyrna, which would benefit us to take some sewage away from one of the meters that we're having the overages on. That's ultimately where this sewage ends up at.
So basically, we've got to check all that out.
And of course, yeah, we don't know the rates, and Smyrna has not written up their draft agreement yet because they wanted to make sure we were willing to enter into that agreement before they went to that trouble of coming up with the rates and everything for it.
Right.
Well, if we make everybody else put their own sewer lines in at this point, they're going to be able to come back to sue us.
like the other developments out in there. Did we have sewer run, Rock Springs down at Pinnacle? Did we have sewer run?
We're gonna be
at that
showing
time when
preferential
that started?
treatment without changing something.
Yeah, we did have some projects over that way, where we put the sewer lines in, and then we put a development fee for those basins to kind of pay us back for that. Possibly could be something similar here.
Yeah, and Neil may be able to talk a little bit more since a lot of these subdivisions were before I got here, but you've got, I know, 3 pump stations, because like Woodsong we're talking about, they had to put in a pump station, Ivy Point had to put in a pump station, Rock Springs, which where the school drains down to, put in a pump station, and all that would have probably gravity to Smyrna. I don't know where the closest sewers in Smyrna are to those areas, but I knew Woodsong and Ivy Point's right there connected basically right to it, and we've had to just go around them, and then they pumped up, so I don't know if they could sue you or not, based on us making them in the past and then allowing them to do something different. But I don't know what the rates were in the past. They could have had an outrageous rate that Laverne was not willing to enter into, and the rates may be different now too.
I think at that point they weren't even willing because they didn't have the capacity.
Well, at one point I heard that they were at capacity anyway. So,
I think we need to do some checking before we even.
we need information gathered on this, if y'all don't mind. Getting with Neil, Michael, you can get in on this, and Kyle, of course, and I say we do both sides. What if Smyrna costs, if they're even willing to do so, and then we also need to look at what we did with the other subdivisions, what we made them do over in that area. I mean, we want to keep it consistent, so we'll have some homework to do.
Okay.
On this, if you don't mind.
No. So I did speak to Smyrna about their capacity, and they said that they can easily handle this.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark told me the same thing.
Okay. So,
There's other areas like beside Target. I mean, it's a whole lot closer to get to Smyrna with a force main than it would be to tie back to where we're having probably proposed to go to. And then behind Lowe's, that area that's there, that's another area that we would probably go towards Smyrna. So, I mean, I think some of these, or a lot of these places would still require pump stations, but the force main distance would be a whole lot less. Like I said, I don't know what the rates would be though.
well, I guess we're on the information gathering to bring back to this board. I guess on either one of them, we have to go through this board, not on planning, but
Would it
us.
be a billing nightmare?
See, that's, do we, is
How would that
our,
work for billing?
Sorry.
our billing capability?
Billing not.
How would that work for your billing?
Yeah, I think it could be done, because what we would do with that subdivision, we'd set up a separate, account structure, like, those would be grouped together, and we could set up a, specific rate code for, a new rate code, and we would all be assigned to those houses, so
Okay.
I think that could be done.
So if y'all could just get all this information together so we can make a good decision, and we'll all do our homework.
Wonderful. Thank you for the
All
time.
right,
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, did anybody have any other questions you wanted to ask any of our guys here or anything? Sorry. Okay. All righty. All right, we will have our Employee of the Month, and we will have the Police Chief's Awards of Excellence. We're going to move right into old business. Second reading, Ordinance 2013-03, an ordinance of the City of Laverne, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2013 through June 30th, 2014. We will be having a public hearing on this one.
It's 6:30.
Public hearing, 6:30. Do I have any discussion on this item? Anything anybody wants to bring up, discuss? Okay. If not, we'll continue to move on. Second reading, Ordinance 2013-04, an ordinance to amend the 2012-2013 fiscal year Streets Capital Projects Fund. Do we have a public hearing on
We
this
will
one?
have a public hearing on this one as well.
Okay. Do I have any comments, questions? Do anybody want to ask any more questions regarding this matter? Anything? Excuse me. Number 6, an ordinance to amend the 2012-2013 fiscal year general fund budget. This also will have a public hearing. Do we have any questions? Any questions whatsoever? Okay. Y'all are a quiet bunch tonight. All right, we'll go back now to the consent agenda items. A, approve recommendations for city bids and purchases. Number 1, purchase sidewalk and curb gutter repairs, Marcor Construction. Okay, who has this one?
Mayor, basically what we had on this one was, Stormwater Department had to, on Holland Ridge Drive, if you'll remember, we had to dig that up and replace that, the drainage there. And when we went back to fix that, we had to, at that point in time, the street department had to bid out for the miscellaneous curb repair, sidewalk, stuff like that. So we got everything taken care of but the curb and the sidewalk stuff, and then we got a quote for that, which was $4,500, and got that fixed. Then they did a separate job, different location town, different job, for $1,200. But whenever they sent us the invoice, they sent it to us on one invoice. Since that was on one invoice, they put it over the $5,000.
Okay.
So that's why we just want to bring that to you, is to make sure, you know, we're not trying to hide anything. It's follow the proper process, which should have, you know, $5,000 should come to y'all. But like I say, it was 2 separate jobs and 2 separate invoices, or they put it on one invoice. We had kind of 2 quotes, so that's kind of how that came about.
Any questions? Any questions on that one? Okay. Thank you, Tyler. All right. Under A, ratify purchase of shipping services for the AMR meters.
Mayor, as you know, last month we had approved the purchase of the AMR meters. We had everything signed through Loudon Water, and of course there were some time stipulations in that contract of when everything had to happen. Basically, the check was sent, they received the check, and then they told us, you know, we're ready for the meters to be picked up. We had already gotten quotes on all of the shipping companies. We got 3 different quotes. We took the low quote, which ended up being just over $4,000. There is a purchase order in the packet here. But anyway, so basically there was a contract involved. You were actually out of town at the conference last week, and so we went ahead and did get that contract signed so the meters could be shipped. But this is basically just to ratify that approval of the contract. Evan did review the contracts. We did make one change that the shipping company was fine with, and so but basically this just comes back and ratifies that decision.
Okay. Any questions? Any questions?
And we do have the meters. They're over at Public Works.
They're here. All right. Well, I have no questions. I'll move on to B, approve streets for paving. Look over the memo here.
Is this some?
Harmony. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but these are the streets that came in with those letters.
Right. There's
And
two
the bonds
different
and letters of
there's
credit.
2 different lists in this memo. The first list is for Lake Forest Estates, various streets in different phases, and these will be paid for using the letter of credit proceeds that we have. We've called several of the bonds letters of credit already. We've actually received $310,000 already. In July, we should receive another $100,000. The total estimate for The paving of the streets in Lake Forest Estates is $361,000. So, you know, by July, we will have enough money to cover the paving of all of these phases. Now, we will not receive all of the letter of credit funding until sometime in October, when we're supposed to receive another $160,000. But what we would like to do with paving season right upon us is to go ahead and get approval for these and then pave them as we can. Now, obviously with Lake Forest, there's other issues we've got to look at. There's water and sewer and stormwater. Basically what we're asking for is permission to start the process and have water and sewer go out, check those lines, make sure everything's okay. If they need to be repaired or fixed, we'll do that. Also with stormwater, make sure the drainage is okay, see if anything needs to be cleaned out or whatnot, and get that done. And once those areas are finished, they will tell Garland that it's okay, and then he'll get CK Masonry to come out and make the necessary adjustments to the manholes and valve covers, to the different castings in the streets, and then we'll get Hoover to pave, you know, the areas that are ready to go. Like I said, all of this will be paid for out of the letter of credit funds here, and I talked to the attorney as far as whether we could go ahead and pave the ones that we've not received the bond money for, and he felt that that would be okay. We just need to keep good records of what we're paving and take pictures before and after so that we can show the conditions of those streets and the other improvements that we're going to have to fix. That's the first section of streets. There's another list of streets on the next page of the memo. These will be paved with state street aid funds, and obviously these will not start until after July 1st when the new budget goes into effect. The first street that Garland will be doing is Jones Mill Road, which we have to do in accordance with the Corps of Engineers. And it was an estimate of about $197,000 for that alone. And of course, we don't know how accurate that's going to be exactly. We're hoping that that's a high estimate, but then we'll obviously want to move on to these other projects and pave them as well. But we're asking for approval on this as well so that we can go ahead and get these scheduled. Obviously, the castings will have to be adjusted here as well for the ones that need it. And we're just asking for approval on all of these streets to start the process.
It's time to get it started. Do you have any questions? Any questions you want to ask Garland or Bruce or about any of the streets? Anything? All right. Okay. We've got, don't let me skip over, okay. We'll move to number C, which is approve annual contract with TDOT for the maintenance of Murfreesboro Road.
Mayor, this is the contract that we do every year for Murfreesboro Road. Agreement with TDOT. It's the standard contract. Nothing's really changed, and it's just for the next fiscal year.
Any questions? Move to number F, and we will be pulling F off of the consent agenda items. We're still working with Retail Strategies. Our attorneys are working on this. As I said, we were at the retail conference in the last week. We did look over other companies. We've looked at some of the others. We've also taken a great look, and we will discuss this further when we go to our nonprofits at the chamber and how, you know, what they actually do in retail. And we feel that this is the best way for the city to go, is with Retail Strategies, the company that came last workshop and gave us a presentation where they would come in and solely work with the city in recruitment of retail. Now, of course, we're still going to have to do our part as well with them, but they will help go out, go to a lot of these conferences as well, promoting the city. They have the connections with the brokers and the businesses, and the chamber point blank said that was not their job to bring retail to us, that their job was to bring jobs. And I mean, that was said to all of us that were standing there. So we can have a choice. We can do the retail strategies, or we also talk to this board about hiring someone to just do economic development. Well, it's going to be much cheaper to have this company with all their people and all their statistics working for us at, what is it, 40,000 the first year and then 20 for the next 2 years, as opposed to, I apologize, Phyllis, how much did we put in the budget? I think it was 50 something. Of course, you got to count your benefits and all of that if we hire one person to come in and do it. So it's certainly this board's choice. But I highly suggest that we look at hiring this company for the 3 years, let them go out and help us recruit some retail. But again, this will be pulled off the consent agenda. So we can have further discussion. I think there's some other things that Evan's wanting to look at, and I think they're working out some details on that. And again, this will not go into effect till after the budget, the July 1st budget. So you're approving this for next year's budget. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, if not, I will continue to move further. Okay, I'm not skipping anything. G, accept donation of money from Baseball Players Association for the use of city ball fields for a tournament.
Mayor, I believe it was last weekend or the weekend before, the BPA used the fields up at Veterans Park, and of course we didn't have a fee structure put in place, but they offered to make a donation to the city for the use of those fields. We do have a policy on the acceptance of gifts and other donations, which is in your packet. It has to be approved by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. And there's also a copy of the check in the packet for $1,500, and that's what they're offering to donate to the city for the use of those fields, and just basically needs approval of the council.
Any questions? Any questions? All right. Next, appoint board members. Library board, we do have a vacancy. Prior to Mrs. Donna Vivout being named the library director, she resigned from the library board, obviously. And we've been advertising it, and it looks like we have 2 good applicants, Mr. Glenn Green and Kimberly McDonald.
The application from Kimberly McDonald was submitted back in December. I have not spoken to her to make sure she's still interested. We'll do that prior to Tuesday night. But these are the 2 applications I have on hand.
Excellent. I mean, they both look like good ones. We want to get, sounds good. Okay, the Local Emergency Planning Commission. We have 1 vacancy for Laverne Police Department, 1 vacancy for Public Works, and 1 vacancy for the Parks and Recreation Director, which we now have filled, which is Mr. A.C. Davis. And then it looks like LPD, it would like to place Sergeant Burl Davis, better known to us as Chip. And then, which other one?
Public Works, I'm recommending that we leave that one open until we decide who's going to fill that position permanently.
Okay. Excellent. Any questions? Next, we have the Laverne Housing Authority. The term for Mr. Jim Hewitt expired. He was removed from the board in February. We could not contact him. But it looks like we do have an application from Miss Virginia McMath. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is a board that we really need to reactivate. desperately. We did have some good visits, and I think it's going to be imperative that in the next few months this board becomes very active. And I'm noticing it doesn't have anyone from council on there, so that doesn't.
We have.
This is not a city board.
Okay, all right.
This is a separate entity. It's not a city board, so that's why there's no
Okay.
elected officials on this board.
But I've noticed that, as far as I can remember, they've never met.
Oh, yeah, we did.
I'm talking about since I've been
Oh,
mayor.
yeah, we
Yeah,
haven't
it's-
in a long time,
It's
but
been a long time.
we did a lot till when we were trying so hard to get something going, and then there was just,
Right. So we may see a need for that in the very near future, and get that reactivated and get some good applicants, and hopefully Ms. McMath would be very interested in. I know some of the others that's already on this board are very, very active people, so. Next is the Historical Preservation Committee, and we do have a vacancy here, and as of yet, we do not have any applications. So we'll continue to push for that one. The Economic Development. We have Mr. Webb Pickard.
Yeah, this is just information only. His
Okay.
term expires at the end of June.
Okay.
We'll advertise the position on Channel 3 and take applications and see if, and I didn't change that memo all the way, and see what applications we get. We'll see if Mr. Pickard wants to stay on this committee and go from there. But this will not be on the agenda
He's been under the
Tuesday.
weather.
Right.
So, and I do need to give him a call and just check on him anyway. He's been good to the community, and
Right.
I do know he has been under the weather, but we'll
Right.
give him a call.
Right. This will not be on the agenda Tuesday night.
Next is the Board of Zoning Appeals. Nathan Phillips has resigned his position on the Board of Zoning Appeals effective June 30th. He's moving out of state in July. So we started advertising of this, and we do appreciate Mr. Phillips' time that he did serve on this board, and I think he did a good job there. And Laverne will surely miss him, and we do wish him the best of luck moving. So application, this is a very, very good board to be on. You do have to stay on your toes. It does. You do have to have some hours once a year with this, but it is a very good board to be on, and you do have to do some studying.
what I
So,
did over here.
she
I
messed
hit
up.
something. I did.
I did mine too. So.
I hit something. I don't
All right,
know what I
next.
did.
Do I have any
Look
questions
how
on any
small
of these
that
boards? Number
That's what
9,
it was.
first reading, ordinance 2013-06, an ordinance to amend Title 20, Chapter 2 of the Laverne Municipal Code regarding user fees for the Parks and Recreation Department.
Better.
As I was talking a few minutes ago, we didn't have a fee schedule put in the Parks and Recreation for league use or for tournaments or even for field rentals. This is the proposed fee schedule that AC and I and Julie have worked on, and this is what we would like to recommend to the board for approval.
A lot of these, please look over. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact Julie, Bruce, and/or AC. Any of these three can certainly go over these with you. So don't hesitate to call and ask questions if you read over and something pops into your mind. Do I have any questions, though, at this point right now? Or comments? Anybody? I'm going to have to yell fire to get y'all to wake up.
Right.
Number 10. Excuse me. First reading, ordinance 2013-07, an ordinance to amend the City of Laverne zoning ordinance by changing the official zoning map for tax map 140, Group A, Parcel 16, located at 1500 New View Street, consisting of .35 acres from an R3 high-density residential zoning district to an I1 light industrial zoning district. This did receive a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission on May the 28th, 2013. Is there a map on here? In the Planning Commission, this is, if you'll look on down, you do have a map there.
Right.
It's right at the corner of New View, like New View's here and then Dick Buchanan. There's an old trailer there, it's been abandoned. It has been purchased, and all the area around it, this is not spot zoning, because if everyone knows that Dick Buchanan and all that is a large mixture, and mostly of that is industrial. Kristen she can show us here.
Got some information. I thought the map was shown up on the screen, but here's some information for you if you'd like to take it. As the mayor says,
Thank you.
the property
There it
is
is.
bounded
Pictures.
by a mix of commercial, industrial, and residential properties. We've got to the north, we've got a cabinet shop, a recycling collection center, a supermarket, a mechanic shop. To the west, we've got a salvage lot and scrapyard, a drilling and blasting company, a church, a daycare center. And then on the south, we've got mostly, and it's concentrated along New View and Piercy Street, where we've got residential. And then further down Dick Buchanan towards Murfreesboro, we've got another, there's a tire shop, a car, an automotive shop, and a daycare center. So there's quite a mix of different land uses there. And I received 2 phone calls, both from residents who actually live on New View in the residential area, and both residents actually supported the rezoning request. So,
And we'll also have to we'll have a public hearing on the
Correct.
second reading of this as well. So the citizens on that street certainly may come up and voice their concerns at that time as well. But no one did, they showed up at, no one showed up at the.
In fact, I actually expected there to be a lot of phone calls, and I was surprised that both of the people that I talked to who actually live on that street supported it. So one person actually thought it had already been rezoned because it went through the process a handful of years ago. So, and the proposed use would be automotive. It would have to be somewhat small. Of course, that would be dealt with at the site plan phase if it were to be rezoned. But there would have to be some buffering done, and of course, they'd have to meet all the setbacks and whatnot.
Any questions? And before Tuesday, if you have a time, ride by. It's right there on the corner. If you want to see for yourself, take a ride by and look this over.
That's where I deliver meals, New View.
All right, that's it. Any questions? I'm going to move on. Number 11, Resolution 2013-11, a resolution of the City of Laverne to appropriate funds to the nonprofit organizations. As everyone can see, we've had it in our packets for quite some time. I am going to bring up for discussion, and I would like to hear for this board. On the chamber, I did request explanations for the Destination Rutherford, which we give $40,000 to, economic development, which we give $23,000, and the tourism that we give $15,000. And I wanted a little better understanding when they made the comment that they don't do retail. I wanted to know where our monies were going. And so I asked. The Destination Rutherford is a program born out of the chamber, and it is a 5-year public and private partnership that helps the regular funding above the operational cost. Now, that's what I was told. Did any of y'all understand that?
Operational
Yeah, I
cost
understood
of
it.
what?
It said take the $40,000 back. Along with the 15 and the 23.
And that's, I mean, I'm just telling y'all what that said. The three main areas are industrial recruitment, workforce development, and tourism. We also focus on retail and corporate headquarters recruitment. So we were told they don't do retail. So what I'm trying to do is, I want to know, I don't mind paying our portion for anything.
If we get anything for it.
You know, I do not mind us paying, but we're paying them, and now, you know, we're having to go in and hire somebody to come in here and help us do what this just said they do. So I'm just putting some food for thought out there. I am meeting with them on Monday. I think Tom's going to be, may be there, and we're going to ask some questions. It says the economic development portion request is for operations that all cities agreed upon based on population, and that is the board you sit on and meets every month. So we're paying for me to sit on the board is the way I'm understanding that. Yeah, a sandwich. I'm just putting this out. I'm just reading you. This is what was sent to me by the chamber. Finally, the tourism request is for tourist recruitment from a portion of a hotel motel tax. That is money also used for operations. I think we owe it to our citizens. We need better explanations for all this money. And at this time, of course, we don't vote on this till Tuesday night, but I would like to, I'm going to ask, and I'll ask Evan how I can legally do this, because we've not voted on this. We'll be voting on it. A resolution, we vote on it one time. On Tuesday night, if I come back with more information, can we make a motion and change the monies in that? On that, okay. I will hopefully have more information. I did request them to give us detailed information on what each of these three things do. And that's what I've got. And you're welcome. I'll be happy to send any of you or make copies of this for y'all to review over. But we had some real challenges that we saw during our conference there, the ICSC, and Laverne did a good job. Our team worked hard. And had we not had our own booth, Laverne would not
Nobody would have known you were there, except you go in and talk to everybody.
Right.
But that's still not like.
We had you're to stay the whole 3 days. When you get a booth, you sign that you're going to stay there, and you cannot do anything till after 2 o'clock on that Wednesday. You're to be there on Monday. They give you time to set up on Sunday. You set up at a certain time. You're there Monday all day, you're there Tuesday all day, and you cannot even touch your booth to tear it down to 2 o'clock that Wednesday. And you get penalized if you do. Now, our name was on a booth that was tore down at 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning. But because we had our own booth and we stayed to the very end, we are not going to be penalized.
Why would our name be on somebody else?
Well, we're with the chamber.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And this came straight from the guy over the ICSC. If you start touching anything, they start texting. And then the head people come around and take pictures about 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure. We never had a booth before. Mm-hmm. Was it easier?
Oh, it was
much phenomenal.
Better. You know, we walked our legs off.
And, well, we did, Kathy manned the booth, did a fabulous job there while we literally had meetings this time. So that worked out great. When we'd come from meetings, we would hit people along the way. But I do think this is something that we do need to look at. I mean, it's not like we have a lot of extra money. I mean, we're very, very frugal with our money. We watch our pennies, you know, and we've got to make the best of the money that we have.
Well, you know my thought. I've said cut them out from the beginning.
And they do a good part on industrial end, on the,
They do a great part for Smyrna and Murfreesboro.
yeah, but as far as retail, you know. But however, I mean, we do need to be a part, because a lot of people in California, I'm just throwing that name out, they don't look at, they will go to the chamber for information on a lot of your big companies. So, I mean, we don't want to cut our nose off to spite our face. I mean, we're willing to do our part and work, but if we're having to hire another company, I certainly think half of that, we can use the other half to pay our retail, for our retail company. But it's something to think about by Tuesday night. Hopefully, I will get more information.
Yeah.
And bring it back to y'all on Tuesday night. And certainly, y'all can call and ask Bruce, or if I do get the information prior to that, I'll get it to Bruce, so y'all can, he can disseminate that information to you and have a conversation with you over that.
Where can I just jump in?
Yes, absolutely.
I think this is our 4th meeting, I think, in 2.5 years. And, you know, they certainly can talk a good game. And I'm certain that you're going to get more of that on Monday. But I think one of the things we have to look at is what have they done for Laverne? You know, they certainly have helped with some jobs,
Right.
which may or may not have came to Laverne anyway without them. Certainly they helped. But when they say they don't do retail, and I believe that was told to us twice.
And we all heard it.
I've seen them do retail, and maybe not for Laverne, but for the Smyrnas and Murfreesboro. So, you know, I don't know. So you don't want to cut off your nose to spite your face, but at the same time, if you're throwing away just looking at here, what does that come to? $78,000. You know, maybe take half of it, like you said, away, and let them show us what they can do rather than just coming in and telling us. I don't know. That's from what I saw out there this year. It's never been real Laverne friendly, but this year I don't know. I don't think anyone was real happy with what way they represented Rutherford County. So.
Not at all. Not at all. But I do agree. I mean, I think half that would give them enough for the retail. I know Phyllis has talked about, you know, keeping us on the website, because people go to the county chambers a lot of times. Of course, we've certainly upgraded our website as well. But half of that would certainly go, and that would pay for our, even though we've got money put back for that, that would still be a much better off. What is it? We have a judiciary responsibility here, and that would certainly add monies back into our account. But anyway, think about this, and in the meantime, hopefully I can get more information to Bruce early so he can get that to y'all prior to the meeting. Do I have any more questions, any more comments? Okay. Number 12, motion to approve an application for a certificate of compliance for an off-premises consumption retail liquor store from City Slickers LLC to be located at 5410 Murfreesboro Road.
Mayor, this location is, if you're facing the building, is to the right of Tony's Market on the way out of Laverne. I have submitted the application and the attachments to the Chief of Police and also to the City Attorney. They have done their diligence, and the background checks for the applicants came back okay. Evan has a couple of things that he's asked for that I've passed on that we've not gotten back yet, but hopefully by Tuesday night we'll have all of that in order. Of course, the location is fine. It meets all of the distance requirements that we have for a retail liquor store. But there will also be a public hearing on this Tuesday night at 6:30 as well, where people can, voice their opinions about this item.
All right. Okay, public hearing. Okay. Do I have any questions? All right. Number 13, motion to approve contract with New World Systems for the CAD RMS system for the police department.
Do you have a copy?
I got
of it?
one.
Okay.
There you go.
All righty.
Do we
Lay
have-
it on us.
Do we have to read all this?
Well, I've read all of it several times. I think Bruce has, and Evan has, and Phyllis had a copy yesterday, I think, part of it, but we just got the final package in. That's where I've been. And Rich is here. They were working on several parts and pieces to it. We found out some things just as late as yesterday concerning some of the equipment we have that we had no information on. And as a result of it, they have put together the entire package. So I'm going to ask Rich to come on up in case there are questions. I talked to Jonathan Mitchell. Jonathan couldn't be here tonight. Is he in Utah or where now? Oklahoma. Okay. He lives in Utah, but Jonathan sent this, and then he called me a few minutes ago while these copies were printing, and we just kind of discussed it briefly. And what they've done is given us a package of a proposal of what the cost would be, but they also provided information from government capital if you chose an option to lease the software and the hardware for 7 years, and then it would be a $1 buyout, correct?
You would own everything after that point.
Versus doing it up front and doing financing another way and then adding it in. So that's what that document is on the second page you have. First page is the email where Jonathan sent it to me. That includes the information on New World Systems with everything that's comprised there and some of the work they're going to have to do with some of the old things that we had to deal with and we had to add in there afterward. Then the mobile laptops, dock stations, et cetera, that are there. And then crime reports is the third-party software up front that we would get that allows citizens to actually go in. And it's same, I believe it's the same software that Franklin, Brentwood, Murfreesboro, several of the municipalities around us are using for the crime report too, which takes that information and allows the citizen to select different things for them to look at. If you look at that second page, this assumption is made on the total cost for the 7 years based on 2.89%, and it would include the $1 purchase at the end. It's 7 years of maintenance included, annual maintenance. And the annual maintenance starts, I think, it starts in year 2. So 1 year after the day of the contract on that date, the following year, that's when we would begin paying the maintenance. And the maintenance first year, I can't remember what it actually said in here, 121. The next page, down at the bottom, it's 121,280. Now what the annual maintenance is and the reason those costs are there, TBI changes, FBI changes, Department of Safety changes with crash records, data requirements there. There are various things that are changed that we have to comply with. In order to do that, New World's responsible for seeing that, preparing for it, testing it, and having it ready to go on the start date that any of those agencies say we have to. It also includes any upgrade that they do system-wide, and they do a minimum of one complete upgrade with all the 450-plus systems that are out there annually, and sometimes they have to do more of those. It depends on what's going on, or if there happens to be a bug somewhere because of a maybe even a Microsoft change potentially down the road, then they would have to do some modifications, and those are pushed out. Plus, it gives us 24/7 support for that period of time for CAD, and then all day long, 5 days a week, excluding holidays, for the records management side of it in the event we have some issue. Another thing that they did was add in, we did not have a completely redundant backup in the event this system that goes in the building over here dies. If a motherboard goes out in the SAN, or which is the array that has several different slide-in packs where the data is stored and operates and functions, that will be completely duplicated, hopefully off-site. And if that goes down, then it'll automatically switch, and we don't lose lives, we don't lose time, we don't lose data, we don't lose anything. It automatically switches, goes straight to it, and it operates there. Even though this is built with a SAN with RAID packs that are in there, which are redundant in and of themselves, still the motherboard could go out in the SAN in and of itself. It's not a probability, it is a possibility. And if that occurs, then you're down, and you're there with nothing then. So that's the reason we built the whole complete. And that was an additional 30-something off the top of my head, I think.
That includes the redundant software,
Everything,
so that
yeah.
it's a live viewing system.
So that we're covered. That, all that is insurance that we're paying for there with that. So in essence, what this page does is go through and explain the software costs, the mobile terminal stuff cost, the crime reports, which is relatively inexpensive comparatively, and then it goes through and shows all of those annual SSMAs, which is the annual maintenance cost. But when you go back and you look at the second page, the one just before that one, government capitals at the top with the elk, when you look at it, with a down payment up front of the $300, there's $212,500 in current year, this current fiscal year budget, and we get $128. Once we pay New World $128, we can get $128 back from 911 ECD, and that will offset that. So the funds are there budgeted already that would cover that much, actually more than that actually. But then with a 2.89 and pushing it out for 7 years, it would be $243, $343, $74 per year, but that includes the maintenance. And as a result of including the maintenance up front like that, it actually saves us almost $170,000 for the 7-year term, which would be equivalent on the tail end of it of right at a year's worth of maintenance costs. So we'd actually wind up with 1 year maintenance. Now the other things we did build in here, with the things that are coming potentially with fire department, we went ahead and built in all the fire stuff so that the city owns the software, the city owns the data, because right now I'm not real sure that that is the way it is. Yeah, it's one of those, maybe it is, maybe it didn't things. So this ensures that once we start this, we start collecting the data, that immediately becomes City of Laverne data, and there's no doubt about it, City of Laverne equipment it's on, et cetera. So that's the reason we did that. The contract has been looked at more than the counselor wants to admit. There have been several discussions, several changes back and forth. The New World folks, I think, did a pretty good job of working with Evan and met all of our requirements, it appears, that we had, and were very good to work with. And Bruce and Evan and I had a conference call this morning all together, and what we had discussed has been changed accordingly, and we saw that up front before we got this package. So, and it appears from just scanning through it that all those were covered. Over on page 9 of 41, it starts into all the exhibits of what's included and what's covered. We actually have built into is $173,559 of third-party software and hardware that's there, that's covered, that is something that has to be for it to work the way we want it to work, and New World has to do that up front as we go. And then, of course, we've got all the training built in. It's where the travel expenses come in on the upfront basis. The contract will require them to come in and train all of our personnel. It requires them to utilize a Project Management Institute certified project manager up front, which is someone who knows what they're doing and how to handle project management and get this project up and going, making sure we stay in line. We have to assign personnel, senior level, which I will be the project sponsor, and we'll have to sign off on everything that we do on our end, changes, anything that's done there, and then there will be a rep there from New World that will have the authority to sign off on things that are done there so that we stay on track and we all agree anything that's done we all have to sign off on. And that's one of the good things about the PMI project management perspective. They document thoroughly with timelines and goal setting and accomplishments, et cetera, and it's a regular report. I can't remember how often. Is it weekly?
Yes, sir. Our standard is that monthly you'll receive a complete audit report. We can also do weekly or bi-weekly check-ins as well. But it will be not just hours, but also dollars. We're both on tracking our budget at the same time.
Plus any changes we do or whatever, additions, et cetera. It goes all the way through and tells you all of the different things that are there and contained within. It tells you everything that's contained on the fire side, on the CAD side, on the law enforcement side. The mobile software is even different, but it allows us to do not only the records management, mobile field reporting, et cetera, but it also allows us to do mobile CAD, which means what the dispatcher enters in, we see on the scene in the vehicle. What the car is doing, dispatch will see. They'll know who the closest car is to send. Automated vehicle location, AVL, will be there as a part of it. You'll actually see the vehicles, where they are on the map at any given time and where they're headed and what their status is.
We actually saw this at one of the meetings, League of Cities. Mm-hmm.
The page 17 goes through and explains the project management and the implementation and the training support that they agree to provide us, and they will train everybody all the way from almost the guys that do the sweeping and mopping over there to the folks who have to control and maintain all of the security for the system. It goes through all of the things concerning the hardware as well as the software, the switching that is required to communicate with TBI, FBI, Department of Safety, everybody else that we have to communicate with, filing reports through it, accessing and running driver license checks, wanted checks, et cetera. All of those things have to be there, and we also have September of this year, we were supposed to have a new criminal justice information system security policy in place. That has been moved forward 1 year, but everything we have will be in full compliance with the CJIS 2013 requirements, so we won't have to back up and redo something next year. It's done up front, and that is a multi-tiered authentication, which means that you have to have multiple ways of logging in and identifying and ensuring that who's on it is allowed to be on it, which is just an extra security that we have. It goes through on page 20 of 41, the services that are included, which is the 24/7 for CAD, and then the rest of it will be Monday through Friday, 8 to 8 Eastern time, so 7 to 7 hour time. They also have a group meeting annually, and we will have a couple of folks that will attend it, because everybody that has this software, they bring them together and say, okay, what problems are you having? What changes do we need to make? When they make those changes, they do it for everybody, and that's part of the maintenance agreement, part of the maintenance costs that we do up front. let me see real quick. On page 23, because we have said yes, we will be a host for demonstrations. Once everything is up and running and is complete, we will host other agencies like we did going to Germantown. We'll host other agencies here. We're not selling their product. We're not their employee. We're not gaining anything of it, except we are getting some discounts as a result of being willing to do that. The data file conversion discussed on 24 is, and that's, I can't remember the exact cost, but about $80,000, to the best of my memory, is about the time it's going to cost and what it's going to take to try to take the Arconics data that's there, convert it into a format so that we can actually see it in New World. Because we can't maintain the old Arconics, it'll go away. And once it's gone away, we'll have nothing there if we don't do that data conversion. And the data conversion will allow us to have that data on down the road and continuous. And we've got, I believe it's about 12 to 13 years of data that's there and stored. So that's pretty important to us. It explains any software enhancements, modifications, and custom software on page 27. It goes on through some of the modifications and so on they will do for us. We will sit down with them. They will take our reports. We'll look at common best practice business practices out there with their other agencies they have. That'll be available to us. If we can do it better, much more effectively, with more integrity, then we'll change our business practices to fit in with what the best practice is out there. And those modifications will be made for us, and that's a part of it up front as well. Let me see a little more important, because this is a whole lot to read through, I know. Exhibit 1, it goes through on page 32. It starts going through the software, some of the hardware, the multi-tier authentication, some of the third-party stuff that's there. Then it goes in on page 34 and begins all the information on the host servers, the SAN, which is a storage array, the software, and explains the investments that are there. Everything is Windows-based, so it's all dropped down. It will be SQL. The data will be stored on a SQL server, which will be much easier for us to manipulate and be able to work with to try to get the information that we need. Goes on through all the additional, the system hardware, all the accessories, and I'm sure you really want to read through all of this. We'll probably need about 14 translators, because I think it's almost as if it's in tongues sometimes when we look at it, trying to understand it. And how can they understand without an interpreter? It also indicates that we'll have not only mag stripe but 2D barcode, so that we can read information on backs of driver licenses and other such things as that. They're in the vehicle. It also uses our S3 mapping, so we don't have any problem with that. It will fit right in with the mapping that we have and what we have available here, plus the county as well. We can do multi-tiered mapping, look at multi-levels, even from the standpoint of Rutherford County Schools down the road with some of the things they have on the Esri. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. It's a sizable investment for the city. It's something we've talked about and discussed. I think you all know the reasoning. I've heard some comments about I didn't know the 911 phones weren't working. It's not the 911 phones. It's the CAD software. When we get the 911 call and enter it in, and there's been a lot of confusion from some of the public about that, some misinformation. The phones themselves are, but this also works. 911 Emergency Communications District Board voted to purchase Cassidian software, which is one of the best softwares available for 911. It also meets the next generation 911 requirements, preparing us for text messaging, videos, photos, et cetera, things of that nature. This system will handle those things. Germantown is in the process of converting their AS400 system, an old green screen we call this system, and that's still on the back end. They had to put their changeover on hold because they had radio issues. I told you about that last month, but we're in line. If we move forward, then we're in line to be about as far along as Germantown by probably about the time they get to finish up is my guess. Anybody have any questions for Rich or for me? Phyllis got it tonight. Bruce got it tonight. Evan got it tonight. I got it that much before they did, and then you all got it.
That was my fault. I take responsibility.
No, he didn't put all the info together.
On the financing,
Yes,
obviously this is just a proposal.
that's correct.
We will need to see the actual copy of the agreement, and I would want to run that through Evan and also our bond counsel to make sure it is a true lease purchase agreement,
That's correct.
because we have reporting requirements with the state that we have to meet. Also, sometimes they require a resolution for that. We will need to have that prepared for Tuesday night as well, if that is a requirement of the financing. So we will need to see that ASAP, so we can get that prepared for Tuesday, if this is the route the board wants to take.
And from my standpoint, I'll tell you this much since I've been here with the city. If this lady doesn't think it'll work, it won't work. All right, she won't tell us it'll work if it will work. So that's how much I respect her opinion and her capabilities. And Phyllis has not had time to look at it, but hopefully she won't have to work all weekend long.
And I guess we'll have more questions, but everybody, Phyllis can come back and say what we can and cannot do at this time, or what we're gonna have to do to move this forward.
Yep.
But one step closer,
Yes,
one step closer.
yes.
Y'all have any questions?
Anybody got any questions for Rich while he's here?
While he's here.
Will there be a test on this?
Will there be a test? Rich, test here.
You was thinking we're gonna have quite a list.
For the record,
I don't know about the
Phyllis said how long would it take to
Boardroom.
get the financing contract, and Rich said that he would have it by in the morning, so,
Okay.
because they didn't pick it up there.
If I could, from our company and a personal standpoint, working with the chief and city officials so far, the direction that you're going for public safety technology sets you up extremely well for future, and hopefully not developments or crisis. The things that you've already done, like putting cameras in schools, the system readily accepts. It's a mouse click, and they can see live that picture, that video, live feed from the school if there's an incident going on. Those are the kind of things that we're putting in place so that you don't have to make another investment later, making sure we're getting everything we can. And the only other comment is if fire has anything.
He's good.
Pleasure working with Rich, I will say that.
Awesome.
From the field trip to any questions, they've been,
All you have to do is feed him well.
and they're really, really quick.
Awesome. Any questions? Guys, we have a couple here that might be quite lengthy, so if y'all don't mind, I've got some needing a little break. If y'all don't mind, is that okay with everybody? Is that all right?
Sure.
Or y'all want to try to push through?
I mean, got
Steve?
two left.
Okay. All right, here we go. Next is discussion street name changes for Parthenon Boulevard and Waldron Road.
Street name changes.
We discussed, the reason we're discussing this is the changing of how Waldron Road is now. When we redid Waldron Road, you know, the cut through there by the bank, we changed all of that. So you're literally, there's no Y or whatever. I mean, you have to stop at the red light, turn, and you got Waldron Road, and then Parthenon continues on. what was the discussion was changing Parthenon, making that all Waldron Road. They've discussed making Waldron Road that goes down by the Church of Christ, back in there, old Waldron Road. So there's been several discussions, so we brought it to this board. I think Kyle, you've been working on it. Bruce, I think, has been working with Kyle on this, and I'm gonna let you just kind of take it from here.
Basically, we just put together 4 options, and we can do 5 or 6, however many you want to do. But whenever we decided that credit union, it used to be well, I guess it was really a Waldron. Everybody referred to it as Cherokee, but that little small strip that's now not connected anymore. Waldron used to really go the route that goes in front of the co-op and the church, and I think the police and fire, almost everybody refers to that as Old Waldron if you talk about it. So that's kind of why, if you look at underneath the options, we tried to put together like a legend that if you was to make a change, like on this one that's on the screen now, Waldron Road would be in red. So basically everything would be Waldron, and you just get rid of Parthenon. And then of course, we would really need to officially make Waldron that goes in front of the co-op and all that Old Waldron. And it would start at the intersection of International there, because International really goes on through the intersection, and Global Supply and Champion's Choice is on International. So that'll all stay International, and then we'll be left with Cherokee's got to continue on around. We'll have to readdress those that's on what used to be Waldron. It's now going to have to be Cherokee. So that's kind of scenarios you've got, and we basically put together 4, like I say, 4 options right now. We can do more, but we're trying to put together stuff because like really, as you see on this one, Parthenon starts where Waldron used to go off. Parthenon used to be from that credit union basically all the way back to Murfreesboro Road. Well, we don't even have an intersection there anymore, so technically the road changes without even an intersection or nothing. It just basically changes from Waldron to Parthenon. So Midas, I think it used to be Midas. I don't know what it is now. It's a repair shop or something. It's actually 102 Parthenon, right? You're actually going down Waldron, and then also 102 Parthenon's right there. So that's one of the issues we've got. So I think on one of the options we was talking about just moving Waldron down to the International intersection and then continuing around. I think it's option 2. Of course, you've got different address changes with each option. Probably option 2, I think, had the least amount of address changes, but I don't know if I'd really go with the address changes. I would rely on Chief Walker and Assistant Chief McCormick probably to Vice Mayor as far as
from an emergency standpoint, it's confusing.
Right.
Because you get a dispatcher send you to Waldron Road and it's Old Waldron. They don't know the difference if they don't live here. So you're running down Waldron Road past Station 2 and you should be going back behind the co-op.
And that's what we want to do, clear up the confusion. And I think really those guys are the ones that's probably got the most input. And as far as address changes, we'll just have to do the address changes. Now I think the board probably will want to consider, I don't know why Parthenon was named Parthenon like that. I'm sure there's probably some old grant, I don't know.
It's because of the donation of property when they extended Waldron Road to Murfreesboro Road 20, 30 years ago, whenever it was.
So you may want to look at those items as, you basically would be getting rid of, if you get rid of Parthenon Metals, is on Parthenon, they probably wouldn't be too happy with that decision. So that's one thing we looked at too was, going to have to do the changes, because if not, emergency services is going to be confused and it's going to cause an issue.
In my mind, Waldron Road all the way to the end of Near Street.
See, that's what I say.
One street.
All the way down.
All the way.
And
one name.
I mean, that could be changed too.
Just make it all one down through there.
That option 4.
What's
Option
it?
4.
We can make that option 5. I mean, we've not changed East Near Streetman, but I mean, that could be, like I said, another option while we're making this mass change
it
here.
just makes sense.
Like I said, we're going to have to do a change. So
one road.
And I definitely say, I don't know, Bruce, road name changes I don't think usually has a public hearing, but you may want to have a public input on this one. just because of the businesses that, you know,
Yeah.
they've got business cards, they've got shipping address, you know, could be quite a bit of change for some people.
Now, near Shreveport, it won't be, we went and looked, I don't think there's that many residents.
No, there's not, near Shreveport probably won't be a lot of
Yeah.
issue on it.
Yeah.
Like I say, we can make that option 5 to go all the way to the roundabout and call it Walden Road all the way to the roundabout.
I mean, I'd like to use Chief Gafford on this somehow, is honoring him since he's selling us fire department. I know we got a James Gafford Drive, but I mean, man, get 50 years and now he's agreed to sell the fire department to us. I mean, I'd like to honor him on this somehow.
On what?
Changing the name somewhere on here, you know, other than just a street out in Lake Forest, James Gafford. I'd like to have it up there somewhere. I mean, can we name the overpass after him?
That's an idea.
Just kind of honor him. I mean, we're doing this whole fire department thing. He's agreed. I mean, 50 years next year he's been here.
Been here a long time.
But I think we just want to put it out there for discussion, just to let you know, we're going to have to do something. I know the police, they haven't complained yet to me, I don't think, but
Well-
I'm surprised because it's got to be confusing as can be when you dispatch somebody.
Well, you know, I think this would be a really good topic for the LEPC. And y'all come up with another, get with Kyle, maybe discuss it in LEPC, what y'all think will be the best for the emergency end, because obviously
That's really
That's
in my
what-
opinion, that's who needs to make
yeah.
the decision is
Well,
it would be your
the only
emergency.
problem with that is, it's a whole slew of people involved in LEPC that don't
that's
have
true.
anything to do
They don't have a
with
clue. I mean,
that's true. Maybe you could
working
just
for
make a
the
little
city.
group of us,
That's the
I
only
guess.
thing that concerns me,
Or maybe-
what we're gonna get into when we do that.
you three,
The
maybe Ricky,
kicker-
Chief, and Chris, get with Kyle, or?
The kicker is having a finite end, okay?
I know.
Not an infinitive, where it goes here and so on and so forth, or it may be here, it may be there. And when you look at the red, and all of a sudden you just go from point A to point B, it reminds me of Illinois, where you hit a borough or town or whatever, it's one road, and in 5 miles, the name of the road can change 5 times in Illinois, because it's flat and they have all the boroughs and towns and so on. And it changes, the name does, as you go. And that's almost what happens with some of this. The confusion comes in is not really knowing where it starts and stops. For us, it's not as bad because people are here and they're kind of used to it. Where you get into problems, I think personally, is with EMS or somebody else coming in as a backup, whether it's a mutual aid call or whatever else, and you tell them and they're confused with where it goes. Because if you do it, I would suggest you go ahead and do it now so that we can get all the lat longs done, the XY cords done out there so that it's built in on the 911 map. So when we do get to do all of these things here, then we've got the capability of knowing where it is. We won't have to back up the fund after that.
Yeah.
And we did talk to Cassie Lowry with 911, and she basically didn't have much comment other than, try to avoid, what we're trying to avoid. Don't change the road name right in the middle of nowhere. At least you really try to avoid it at intersections. You're really supposed to kind of continue on, like Vice Mayor saying, is you really want Waldron, if it's going to be Waldron, to continue on all the way to the roundabout, and even when it connects on to Lake Forest, that would be Waldron also. But that's all been named before, different names and connecting
personally, I
things
don't
up.
like having Waldron and Old Waldron, because you get into the same problem you had when you got Fergus Road and Fergus Drive.
Right.
You're going to confuse people.
Dad. It was named after Vester Waldron's dad, and I cannot think of what his name was. Emmett.
Yeah.
What about Emmett Waldron?
Yeah, we can name it.
You
Once you make the change, we can make it whatever. We just put these up here. We can easily change the name. We can easily change where it starts and stops. Just, basically kind of whatever the chief and assistant chief want. I mean, we can revise some maps and let the board look at those.
I'd at least go to Murfreesboro Road at least to there. Something that big as a breaking point is not as bad as just a small city street or a driveway where you change it. I mean, that gets difficult there. Large intersection is one thing, but the others,
Right.
it's more difficult.
And that's kind of why option one was to go Waldron. Basically, you know, you get off the interstate, you're on Waldron, and you go Waldron all the way to Murfreesboro Road.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes a little bit more sense than what but I don't really like on Parthenon. If they give us a bunch of land in the past and did all that, I don't know what they'll say about getting rid of Parthenon as a road name. So that's kind of why we have option two. Me personally, I don't like option two, but just want to throw it out there. Option three, same way. Try to leave Parthenon on there just in case you wanted to. And then option four is just basically totally go from when you get off the interstate. If you was to go south, you're on Waldron Road. If you was to go north, then whatever new, if you wanted to name the road something different, you'd have a totally different road that would go all the way to Murfreesboro Road, or you could take it all the way to the roundabout, whatever you wanted to do.
Well, I have had other people call and say they would love for it to be changed, like at the interstate all the way to the roundabout, to honor like soldiers and our history, like Freedom Highway and stuff. I've had people suggesting that too. So from the interstate, like you said, all the way to the roundabout, that one whole strip. So there's been suggestions thrown out. So looks like our emergency guys are gonna see what's gonna work best. Get with Kyle and
Yeah, we'll do
I
like
think
an
it
in-house
almost has to
committee
be
and see what we can come up
It's
with.
been there forever.
I don't care as long as it's all
Don't you
one
think?
road.
Yeah.
it's one name, yeah.
We just don't need an old Waldron. If nothing else, change the name of that street.
That's what I started to say, you know, use,
think your address is Old Waldron.
Yeah, and I mean, you type in old
Technically,
on,
it's not Old Waldron.
you type in old on GPS, it
There
ain't
is
gonna
no
pull
such
anything
thing.
up.
Well, it's nice. Waldron actually just where it goes in, where everybody thinks it's Cherokee or what used to be Cherokee, that was Waldron. It went that way, and then everybody said, well, I live on Old Waldron just because they consider what got built
was a
New
habit.
Waldron. And everybody's called it Old Waldron. I think some people's address, or I think they may even get mailed to Old Waldron when it don't even exist. So that's kind of the issue
Get
we've
this
got.
city straightened out.
I'm sure we can figure this out.
And Alderman Broker may have, as far as like postal stuff, he may have some ideas or some issues with some of that stuff too.
I was just talking, Bruce, if you take it all the way to the roundabout and you keep it Waldron Road here, I think Waldron Road starts around 100 and it runs into the 900s, if I'm not, or actually 1100s, whereas near Freeman is 3,000. So, I mean, how would you do that? Would people have to be readdressed at that point, or could you
Yeah,
go?
we have to readdress everybody. That's what we'd have to do, and then depending on that, would be one of the issues we'd have to bring up if we was to go to the roundabout. I know we're down to, I think Mitsushi there, before you cross over the bridge, is 190 Parthenon, so if we left that at 190 Waldron, you'd have basically from there all the way to the roundabout that you'd have pretty much 188 numbers to even side, and odd be the other, and that's probably not enough.
sorry.
But like Tom's saying, we could go back and redo everybody's.
Give them a 4-digit number.
Give everybody a 4-digit, and I really think address changes probably needs to be the first. I think it needs to be what's in the long run, what's going to be the best, and fix it once and be done with it, as opposed to temporary fix it now and then later on say, well, we should have done this, and then try to fix it
Exactly.
again. I'd rather fix it right now.
I agree. Let's do it right. So y'all do a little in-house committee here and make sure we bring it back. It sounds good. All right. Discussion/resolution 2013-12, a resolution to remove the city of Laverne from the application of mandatory allowance of the manufacture of alcoholic beverages.
The state during this last legislative session approved a law that would basically allow manufacturers of either liquor or beer to basically locate in any city that had already approved liquor by the drink and liquor stores. There's really not much that the city can do about it because it's part of state law. They did include a clause where the city could opt out, essentially, remove themselves from those provisions. And MTAS has come up with a sample resolution, which I have modified to fit Laverne. If this board is interested in approving this, basically it would just remove us from that to where manufacturers could not locate here unless we decide to let them. Now, we can always opt back in at a later time if we need to, but this is just basically up to the board if you want to not allow manufacturers to locate here in Laverne.
Discussion? Discussion.
No.
Anybody have any thoughts on this?
I mean, it protects us, but I don't see real benefits if somebody wanted to, I mean.
I don't see either way whether.
Yeah. I mean,
No, we can opt out, opt in, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed either way, but,
Here's my thing. And number one, in our zoning, do we have anything in our zoning where you could put a winery or a brewery or?
We do have a provision for microbreweries. I believe in the I-2 district. I'm not, but it is I think it was added in with recycling collection centers, microbreweries, but it's in there.
So I mean, here's the thing: we've got a zoning for where it can go.
Mm-hmm. We have no regulations in our liquor or beer ordinances about manufacturers. So we have no regulations for anybody to follow if they were to come here. So that is another concern.
Yeah.
so that would protect us to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I said it would protect us then.
Yeah. I mean, y'all think about it.
Yeah, because they could go anywhere if we don't have something to stop them.
So,
I'll leave it on the agenda for Tuesday night.
y'all give it some consideration. Y'all have any
Shoot
questions?
about an acre back there.
Okay, I'm gonna move on if y'all.
Wine and liquor.
Next, discussion bid for replacement of city generators. Mr. McCormick.
Yeah. Oh.
This is basically just information for you. We did put out a bid to replace the two backup generators at McFarland Water Tank and Mason Road Water Tank. They provide telemetry, power for everything at those two sites, as well as emergency communications, the backup equipment. Also included in that was currently we're using the one ancient generator at the police department. Also feeds a leg over to City Hall for the IT room over here, the Channel 3 behind me. There's one leg that runs off of that generator from the police department, which I've never really understood how or why we did it that way, but regardless, it is that way. That generator is on its last leg. We've been talking about it for about 3 years consecutive. We're putting a lot of money into that generator annually, so as well as the two remote sites, Mason and McFarland as well. So we put this out for bid rather than trying to use that same existing leg. Only part of City Hall is on that leg coming off the PD generator. So what we've proposed is we put out a bid for 4 generators, one for City Hall complex, one for the police department, and then one for each of the 2 remote communications at the 2 water tanks. So those have come back to us. If you notice, one of them is substantially higher. If you read through the literature, which I'll have to get these packets out to y'all, as you can see, it's pretty thick. We weren't going to try to add all that to your reading here tonight, but we will definitely get it to you. This bid's good for a year. I would recommend after going through this whole process that when we get to that point that it would go to this lowest bidder, Wolf and Travis. And as I said, that is replacing the current and the removal of the generator at the police department, which is the hub of all emergency communications for the city. Adding a generator here at City Hall that would take over, that leg coming from the PD would go away. It would be standalone here at City Hall then to keep everything up and running for the infrastructure over here, as well as putting those 2 backup generators where we currently have the makeshift generators. You know, we put residential/commercial generators at those two water tanks, which it was just a Band-Aid at the time, and we've actually replaced both of those generators from other sites with those generators as parts. So we are in desperate need of making some kind of decision. Talked to Bruce a little bit. The two water tanks are able to be paid out of water and sewer funds because it's actually water property. So, in talking to Chief Walker today, we could fund a little bit of the one here probably for City Hall because water billing and everything runs out of this facility. So we may be able to use some of the funding out of that. The biggest impact would be we have not budgeted anywhere for the PD replacement, that generator, and the remaining portion of the one for City Hall. So, but as I said, this is just basically informative at this point, but we do need to try to figure out and get with Phyllis, and it's basically just wanting to see where council wants us to place this in the whole process of funding.
Okay. We'll have to get with Phyllis on that one. But it's already June, really.
Yes, ma'am.
So this could be worked into next July budget?
Correct. I mean, we're piecing together and keeping these generators running. We've got we just put our PM maintenance back out again. We did step it up a little bit more. The generators are getting a little more PM now than they were, but that's just trying to keep these things running until we can get this project underway and get them changed out. So. But we are, as we have been, we've pieced them together for about 36 months now, but they're not gonna last us much longer.
We'll get those divided out.
Okay.
The totals.
Okay.
Like I said, it'll have to go in.
Okay.
This year's budget, next year's budget.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'll bring it back to you then. As I said, these are good for 1 year, so we have a little bit of time once we figure out which departments we want to pull these out of and where we want to place them on the calendar. Any questions? Would anybody like this packet? If so, I'll get these printed off and get them to y'all so you can look them over. But
I don't think we need it.
I'll be more than happy to let you have it.
I think we got enough reading to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're down to Mayor and Alderman comments. We'll start with you, Alderman Brother.
I don't have anything.
Vice Mayor? Alderman Green.
I'm still begging for people to help deliver the Meals on Wheels.
Well, we're going to get you with Miss Johnny over there, and hopefully we can get some help with that one.
We can, I'm telling you.
Well, we did have a lot of success at our retail conference. We're very excited. We do ask everybody, of course, that right now we were asked not to say anything with some of that we met with, but please continue to remember and say a little prayer. The city's coming right along, and we've done a lot to be proud of, and we'll leave that and keep your fingers crossed. In the next few months, we hopefully will hear some things. Also, Miss Sherry, we'd like to send our thoughts and prayers to you. Miss Sherry lost her best friend last week.
Thanks.
So we'd certainly like to remember you, and anything any of us can do to help you through it, you know we're here for you. And with that being said, I call this meeting adjourned.